Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell and welcome to the final video of our key management roles. We've gone through planning, organising and leading, and now we have the C in POLC, our acronym POLC, which is controlling. And controlling is where a manager evaluates actual performance against preferred performance. It's a way of monitoring and evaluating performance. This is where we use performance indicators. Think back to area of study 1, we went through performance indicators. This is where we can use those performance indicators. So the key here is that controlling is not a great word for this because it's monitoring and evaluating. So often students, in an answer they say controlling is about controlling employees. That is not the case at all. Look, a better word for it is probably evaluating. However, we need to know what it's controlling, but just keep in mind that it's about evaluating performance. Now think back to our performance indicators. If we're using a performance indicator, we need something to measure it against. So controlling involves, first of all, establishing some kind of benchmark, and then we need to determine the best method of measuring the performance, and that could be, deciding on what performance indicator is the most appropriate. We then need to measure the performance, we compare the results we've received against the benchmark, and then we take any corrective action where necessary. So that if you're asked about controlling, some people go, oh, it's just about using performance indicators. And it is, but remember, if we get an actual figure from a performance indicator, how do we know if it's a good or bad result? This is where we need to establish the benchmark and go through that. So to give an example, let's say we've got an overall objective to increase sales by 10%, and our strategy, I'm just making this up, something really basic, but to implement a new advertising campaign. And now it's time to measure. So first of all, we need our benchmark, and our benchmark is 10% increase in sales. What method are we going to use? This one's pretty straightforward. We use the indicator of number of sales. We then measure. Now the outcome, we've got a 7% increase. So we compare it, we're 3% off our target, off our benchmark. And what do we need to do? We need to take to some corrective action. So I've got there adjust when the ads are played. It could be that we change the ads. It could be that we use a different alternative in terms of where we're actually producing the ads. So we might go more down social media line, whatever it may be, but we make some kind of corrective action. So that's where we can go through a really basic example that hopefully gets you to understand why we use the process of setting a benchmark, choosing the method, measuring, comparing the results to the benchmark, and then taking any necessary corrective action. So for activities, questions and more on this topic, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.